Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Icing on the Career Cake from DCT Recruitment. And today we have Chloe bringing what flavour icing today?
Vanilla.
Vanilla. Why vanilla?
Because of my hair.
You're not in a pod or anything like that, are you? not in one of those engagement pods. No. Good. Okay. Well, we've
It's a nice
satisfied that.
vanilla frosting.
Vanilla frosting. What kind of? Actually, I've never asked this. What kind of cake do you like, Diane?
Me, my favourite cake is Victoria sponge.
Victoria sponge, because it's just ample, isn't it? It fills you up, gives you everything all in one go. Yeah. And what about you, Chloe? Favourite cake?
I think I would have to say carrot cake.
Carrot cake.
Yeah.
Listen, we just got to. Whoever that is phoning, right? Can you stop it? And just like that, you see, that's the power that one has in this situation.
They want you, Diane.
They certainly do. Pick up the phone. You don't get this on any other podcast, by the way. On all other podcasts, phones are banned, but we allow it to happen just so that we can show how popular Diane is. Chloe, tell us a little bit about your sort of life journey into what you do now. Where did you start? What was your first job?
So my first job was door-to-door selling.
Oh, fantastic! Yeah, me too.
It was rough. I was living in London. I was a student and I needed money. I was broke. And I looked online, Indeed, I think it was, and I saw this sort of like selling thing. And I was like, I could be good at that. I quite like chatting. And then I just very quickly got whipped into the world of not really sort of network marketing, but that sort of pyramid selling sort of thing. Yeah.
What were you selling? Without a brand, don't give the brand, but what sort of thing were you selling?
Charities. It was really
you were selling charities.
Yeah. So we were knocking on people's doors, trying to get people to sign up to subscriptions for charities. It was horrible, to be honest with you.
You know, think though, Chloe, that because my first job, right, when I was 15, was selling shirts and t-shirts out of a bag around shops and pubs. But do you not think it gives you good resilience though, because you get a lot of knocks before you get a yes?
Oh God, yeah. We used to be given like a street, and there'd be like, I don't know, maybe 400 houses, and we'd have to knock on 100 of them, and you'd have to try and get a minimum of 3.
Yeah.
And it taught me, that was the first thing that taught me that I am obsessed with hitting targets, absolutely obsessed. So if someone tells me to get 3, I need to get 6.
How quickly into that, because this is an interesting conversation, how quickly into that did you realize, because you probably got given a kind of script to follow, right? But how quickly into that did you realize that actually you kind of had to throw a lot of that script away in order to really make a difference? Because the thing is with scripts in those situations is that people realize that you're going to come up and say a certain thing, right? And then you realize that actually, if you actually look into the person themselves and you kind of pick up on something about that person, you get that little bit further, right? You know, if someone's got a dog with them or whatever, and you go, oh, I love them, you know, and you start making a fuss of the dog or whatever, you're more likely to start getting a great conversation going. Or, you know, if they've got a child with them, is that, oh, how old are they? Oh, yeah. And where did they go to school? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And what? So you learn that like this script that you've been given, which is, hello, would you be interested in signing up to this? Ain't gonna work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how quickly did you kind of fathom that?
I think because I was always a very confident person. I was just very confident as a child. Like I was in musical theatre. I was always the star of the play. Like I was always put as like the main thing. And I was Simba in Lion King. I was Nancy in Oliver. Like I was just very theatrical and very into being like a chatty person. I was obsessed with it. So when I got into sales, I was like, I can just sell by just having a chat. And I would knock on people's doors and they'd come to the door and I'd be like, oh my God, hi, how are you? As if I knew
She'd
that.
go up to the door, they'd open it, and she'd go, the sun will come out tomorrow. And they'd be like,
I just used to just be like, oh my God, I as if I knew them, as if they were my friends for years.
fantastic.
And it would make them feel that they couldn't really say no. You can't say no to someone that's your friend. You know, it was like, oh, well, I'll have to hand over 20 quid a month to this lady who I've never met, but she's made me feel so welcome in my own home. Like, it was very strange, but I loved it. I did love it.
Yeah.
But I very quickly caught up on the fact that if I just be their friend and I just chat away, then I'll probably get the sale.
It's so interesting.
So is that things from today, Chloe? Would you still say that you apply the same theory?
100% is what I teach, is what I work with, is what I mean, yeah, absolutely. I can sell a 10 grand offer just from being someone's best friend and just by like really understanding what they want, what they need in an hour conversation. And when you get to the end, it's a no-brainer because you're just best friends with them.
Yeah. It's what people are looking for answers, aren't they?
Yeah.
That's what people are looking for. You know, when you get into marketing, they talk to you about, you know, all of these stages of the buying process, and there are like 6 stages that people have to go through in order to get to a sale. Yeah. And like the first parts of those, it's about a conversation. It is about a conversation, but people identify a problem, and then you have to give them permission to find the answer in what you're doing. Yeah. And that process, some people just do not get. Some people just like talk over you with like, this is what you should be buying, this is what you should be doing, and whatever. They never enter into that kind of toing and froing part of the process where allowing the person to make up their own mind, allowing that person to feel in a comfort zone of, oh yeah, I think this is the right answer, you know. But that comes from having a lot of emotional intelligence as well. Where do you think you got that kind of emotional intelligence from?
I mean, I think my parents would say them, but I think it's
or just being around your parents, was it?
Yeah, my mum and dad would be like, well, it was everything else. I think it was, I don't know. I honestly, don't think I can put a thing. I think as soon as I came out of the womb, I was just pretty ready to be the center of stage and just be like, and just chat away. I was never scared to talk to strangers. I was always very open. It's interesting because I also do work and I coach and train a lot of people who are the complete opposite of me, really, really introverted. I'm very extrovert and I'm very aware of that. However, I've coached and mentored a lot of girls who are very, very, very introvert, don't like being, you know, the center of stage, don't like having a big loud voice like me. And they actually do really, really well in sales. It's just about coming at it from a different approach and being a better listener. As long as you're a good listener, you can do anything. But I think my personality, I sort of honed in on the fact that I can just become really good friends with them and just work with that. And then someone who's an introvert can strip it back a bit and actually just listen to what they need, which is something that I teach both introverts and extroverts. And there's someone in the middle called an ambivert, which are people that I love working with because they are extroverts, but they are also quite introverted and they're really good at sales. I can spot them a mile off.
Yeah, I'm a shy extrovert.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Would you?
You're an ambivert then, probably.
Well, no, I'm shy extrovert. I'm sticking with that,
Shy
rather than the ambivert thing, because if you looked at my school report, it said doesn't speak up in class, needs to participate more and whatever. I was really quiet through school, really quiet. Yeah, absolutely, really quiet in school. Outside of the school classroom, I was fine with a particular set of mates, but in school it was always, you know, shy, doesn't really speak up, except because I was terrified of teachers, terrified of like being seen to be wrong in front of teachers, and mainly because they would throw something at me if you know, and bully me if I got something wrong. But what were you like at school, Diane?
No, I was like what Chloe's, I wasn't into like drama or thing. I was more played sports, and that I was very much about being like a team player, playing sports. But like my sister's older than me, but she's probably quieter. So I was always the one that would make friends on holiday. I was always the one that would go and speak to anyone. That hasn't really changed. I'll speak to anyone and everyone, because for me, in school, I was bullied quite severely when I was younger. So in my junior school, there was 24 lads and 6 girls. So when catch girl, kiss the girl meant something, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, long story short, it wasn't nice. So I think for me, I learned very quickly as well that I would never want anyone to feel left out or feel like they weren't wanted or involved. Does that make sense? So like, especially networking, when you're in a meeting and you can see that person like, oh, a little rabbit in the headlights, what am I doing? Where are you? I've always just probably had that sense of wanting people to feel belonged, really, and feel, welcomed, because there's nothing worse than feeling that you're not.
Yeah. Isn't it interesting how people's kind of backgrounds really pull into what they do and what their sort of career paths lay before them? I always think that's incredibly amazing. So you were always this child that was, wanting to perform, Chloe, and you were always wanting to be out in front of people, etc. Were there any bumps along the way to where you are now? Was there any self-doubt at all at any point?
Definitely. I think like Diane was saying, like you grow up with all these like things. Luckily for me, I was never bullied to an extent of what you were saying, Diane. I know so many people that have been bullied, and it really affects people's lives. And I can feel that energy when I'm with you in a room. I know that you're quite welcoming. You've got this sort of like motherly instinct. Women gravitate towards you because you've got this like motherly energy around you, and I think that's really lovely that you turned that into actually don't want people to feel left out, because it's so important. It's so important. I was never popular at school. I was always sort of like the Amdram side of school. I was a bit of a stranger, just like a bit of a strange girl, to be honest, because I was just so extrovert. But luckily I was never really bullied as such, but I sort of just kept myself to myself and just did all of the Amdram stuff. But I suppose along the way, I think I'm very, very driven by money. I think that's one of my biggest things. I'm very, very, very driven by money, just simply because I've been around a lot of, poverty. I've seen it. I've experienced it. I sort of know what it feels like to be there. And I don't want that for me. I don't want that for my family. I don't want that for anyone around me. I really want to teach women how to be financially stable, because it is doable. You can do it. There's just tweaks and things that we need to sort of unlearn in our personality. So I think that's something I've come up against, is people being like, oh, you're so driven by money, it's disgusting. And I'm like, why wouldn't I be driven by money? It's the thing that makes me happy. I get to do the things I want. That's one thing that I find really hard, is a lot of people think, God, you're so driven by money, it's just so unattractive, it's so masculine. I'm like,
masculine? No, that's interesting.
I
can understand to a certain extent people saying that they're not driven by money, because I suppose what they're saying is that they're perhaps driven by a vision, or they're driven by a passion to do some good in the world. I mean, if we think to the last conversation we had, Diane, where we had the gentleman that we had on last, he wants to turn his business into giving all of the time and all of his money outside of just what he needs to exist to solve a problem in the world. And
so Ashley, Chloe, from our network, what Ashley does to give back to like charities and the community and stuff like that, that's his why, because of obviously what he went through personally. But even in that though, Graham, it is, but he needs money to do that as well, doesn't he? So when people say that about, oh, you're driven by money, it's not a bad thing. But people have created it to feel like it is because, oh, it's just in it for the money. It's not. That's just your driver. And anyone, if they said, right, what's your goal, what you want, on someone's vision board will be a nice house, a nice car, holidays, whatever, or just financially stable. Well, all of that comes from money. Now, we're motivated by like 5 different things in life. Does that make sense? So that's either you're competitive, which you probably are, Chloe, if you're driven by the challenge. So I'm the type of person, probably from my past, if someone says I'm not going to do it, trust me, I will. Like, so I'm more driven by like the challenge and doing stuff. And you know, you see that with like Strictly, you know, never done ballroom dancing or whatever, and I want. So, you know, I'll put me all into everything and get what I need to be. Not because I want to be the best, but I just want to prove that I can do it to myself. Do you know what I mean? No one else. Then there's the results. So again, you're probably driven by that as well, because you like targets, like you're results driven. Coming from my background, where I'm results driven because it was drilled into you from an age of 17. And then you've got value and respect. So people, it's just more about, they want that value, respect, and they want to just feel like they've made a difference and they're accepted, and then recognition. So, you know, they not necessarily want the name in lights, but they want to feel valued, like they've added value, they feel recognised for what they've done. Now, we're motivated by all of them 5 things, but certain ones will always come to the top that drive you. And that's good that you know that. You know, there's nothing wrong with that, you know. So, you know, if that's what drives you, then great. You know, that's what you do. For me, it's probably like making a difference. That's when I do, like, it's like a card thing you can do. And thinking mine's about making a difference, which is where recruitment suits me, because you're making a difference in companies and employees' lives. You know what I mean? And so that's a feel-good factor for me. You know, it actually solves the problem. Does that make sense? You know what I mean?
Definitely. And I think with what I do as well, I've always been quite money driven, and there was a lot of jobs that I've done that have probably made me feel very good, especially in sales. I've worked in a lot of sales jobs that are seedy and not nice, especially door to door. Selling charity was just not nice. I really didn't like it. It didn't fit well with me. Like health insurance, life insurance, some of the tactics we used were not nice. And then coming into what I do now, I feel like I can teach. You make really good money in high ticket sales. If I can teach just a few women how to do that a month and make the money that you can make in this, whilst also having freedom to be a woman or be a mother and, you know, enjoy the life rather than having to sit behind a desk all day, that is probably the biggest purpose for me. On top of having, you know, money, which drives me, I can actually make a difference and make them think, oh, actually, I've got control over this now, and I don't need to work for some idiot who tells me what my target is. My target is my target.
So tell us a little bit more about exactly what it is that you do, Chloe.
Yeah, so I mean, I've got 2 things. So essentially, I do 2. I'm a sales coach and a sales and mindset coach. So I'm about to launch a coaching program where I teach women how to get into high ticket closing. I'm currently recording all of the modules at the moment to really break it down. But on top of that, they get one-to-one calls.
And that's hard work, isn't it? Hard work.
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, it's hard recording and getting everything ready and editing everything and getting all the worksheets done. It's very, very different. I think it's different because I teach women how to do this in like a feminine approach rather than the sort of like hardcore pushing and selling. It's very, very sort of feminine approach. You know, you can do this in your own time. So I'm about to launch that, and I've been teaching a lot of women on the side whilst that's launching. And then on top of that, I also have a coaching program where I teach sort of people how to scale and grow their social media, especially in personal branding. So I teach people how to become, you know, not influencers, but growing their personal brand so that they can make money from Instagram rather than having to, you know, just post randomly and think that that's going to work, because it doesn't anymore. You've got to have a personal brand. You've got to post for a reason. So I teach people strategy and that sort of thing as well.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Lots of different elements there. What was it that attracted you to doing the coaching and the etc.? What drew you to that?
I honestly, I sort of fell into it. I actually fell into it, and I landed one of the most craziest clients. One of my first ever clients was a company called Shredfast, which is in Liverpool. It's like a gym. It's basically like a lifestyle gym. His name's Luke. My boyfriend and I had a CMOS company called Royal Minerals, and we were selling CMOS to the team, and Luke was taking it. And he was really struggling on Instagram. He was didn't know when to post, didn't know what to post. He was on about 30,000 followers at the time. And I was like, well, I can help you. I can teach you how to do it. But he didn't want to give me his logins because it was his business. And he was like, I don't want to give you my login. So I was like, well, how about we just have weekly calls, and I tell you what to post and I coach you. And it went from there, and he grew and grew. I mean, he was showing up every day. He was posting everything I told him to, and he hit 100,000 followers in, well, I don't even know. I think it was probably in about 3 months he hit 100K followers from that. And then I was like, cool, this is cool. I could do this for loads of people. And I literally did it. And I just thought, because of him, everyone was like, oh, can you do the same for me? And it sort of skyrocketed from there. And I've just been working with lots of different, fitness people, influencers, people with businesses, anyone that wants help. I work with clothing brands, Lola Stars, one of my gorgeous clients. Like, whoever needs just help on social media, I will coach you through it rather than me posting for you. I just coach you how to do it yourself.
It's a really valuable thing. It's not for everybody, though, is it? It's not for everybody. I mean, I think that's an important point to put out there as well, which because some people's brands aren't suited to doing the go viral type solution that comes with trying to build especially on something like Instagram, trying to build your account to that kind of amount, you know?
I mean, I've got clients that are really happy with the followers that they've got. They're not looking to go viral, but they are looking for a strategy to just get them more sales.
Yes.
And that's sort of what I teach is we don't need to get you to 1,000, 100,000 followers, 1 million followers, but you do need to be making money from this. Exactly. So I will show them how to do that. And honestly, it's not about getting you viral at all. That just comes hand in hand. Once you start scaling, it can come. It takes time.
Unless you want to definitely be uncool, in which case it's quite cool not to be cool.
Exactly.
And so that's what I've always tried to do, and it's I've gained my own kind of uncool gang around me, which is great.
Uncool, yeah.
Sorry?
You calling me uncool, yeah?
No, I'm not calling you uncool. But certainly on, say, for me, for example, on the music side of things, I've got people that I have on who have got accounts where they're 400,000K on Instagram or whatever. And I've talked to them a lot about what they need to, or what you need to do that. And I've worked with some coaches who have done stuff for Instagrams for some of the biggest names in the world. And I understand the process. But for me, it was more a case of there's an integrity element to not going that big, which I want to retain. And so I attract those people that want to stay there with me, if you know what I mean, as opposed to going.
Well, I had a meeting with a lady the other day who does insurance, and she was saying about you need to have like directors insurance or something, because if you say to someone, right, you should do X, Y, and Z, and this will do this, then you're liable if that doesn't work. So people who are influencers, for instance, Chloe, and selling a product and saying this has done this to my skin and this is this, if that then person buys the product and then it ruins their skin, like they're liable, aren't they, and stuff. So do you deal with anything like that? Do you have like insurances, or do you give people advice to get something like that in place?
No, and that's probably something that I would love some advice on. That would be cool. It's definitely not anything that I've ever had to experience, touch wood, as of yet. but it's a different type of influence. I don't really work with fashion influencers or like makeup influencers and things like that. It's more community influence and help like that. But that's definitely worth it.
It doesn't probably matter. It's just if you say something that's matter of fact and then that isn't, and something happens from a result of that, then people just need to be insured. Does that make sense? And the world's people know the laws and the regulations a lot more, don't they, than what we definitely did as kids. You'll know a lot more. So I'll introduce you to it. Might be good for you to add into your coaching side of things. You know, you could do maybe.
We only ever tell the truth, don't we, Diane? I mean, look, we tell people this is the best recruitment podcast on the planet, and it is. It's as simple as that. There's just, you know, people can debate it all they like. We'll just prove them otherwise.
I just thought it was dead interesting, though. Do you know what I mean? You don't think about that, do you?
Well, I think you need to have quite. I come from a background where I've always needed insurance because of what I was doing. So prior to this, I was doing workplace needs assessments for 20 odd years, and you had to have insurance up to the hilt.
Yeah, we have as well, and we have to for what we do because we're putting people out to it. Like we've got it, but it just like thought. So do you know what?
Do you know what? You are right, Diane. It's something in the coaching world. It's not spoken about. I mean, I've been in the industry for sort of like 2.5, 3 years now, and it's never. This is probably the first time anyone's ever said.
Yeah, well, that's the first time I heard the example, Chloe, and I thought, do you know what? That's quite interesting, really, to say, because like she was like, oh, you know, people just think, oh, insurance, that's boring, that's this. She said, but actually, the things you learn and what you learn about people and what you learn can happen is quite interesting. Do you know what I mean? So it just made me think, you know, a little bit like you do have to be, you know, protected.
Yeah. And I do, and you know what I think about that when I coach people in, especially in sales, because it's not for everyone. It's not for everyone. You've got to have pretty thick skin. Yeah. And nothing anyone says to me really bothers me. I can get over things very, very quickly. If someone were to say, this is a rubbish course, I don't want to do it, I'm like, okay, it's not for you, that's fine. But some people would get really upset with that. And I think I have to be really, really, this is why I take these, you know, I vet people that come into the mentorship, is because I do need to check if they can cope with the rejection and the constant rejection that they're going to face in sales. It is 100 yes, 100 no's. Well, it's 98 no's for 2 yeses sort of thing. So I have to be really careful, because I also think, what if they were to get in the program and then it's not cut out for them? What do you do then? You know, but you've spent months coaching them and it's just not for them. Is it just it's a lost lead and they pay for the service but they just don't get anything from it? Or do you give them their money back even though you've spent loads of time coaching them? That's something that I'm facing at the moment, and just in my mind, I'm like, what do I do if I get someone?
Maybe with something like that, Chloe, maybe team up with someone who is a bit more of a counsellor, of like, you know, like where your counsellor's in the back of your mind, you know, like, you know, you know, there was a lady who come onto our network group, Helen, who does that. You know, it's about your subconscious and about, you know, your face and your stuff. Or someone like Martine who does that imposter syndrome. It's maybe just then guiding them to some other avenues,
like a mindset coach or someone.
Yeah, you probably got
it's a really big area, because, you know, going back to what you were saying about the motivation side of things, what you're motivated by is, and there's Diane's gone for a second. She'll be back. She'll be back. She's gone off to make a call, or to finally take that call that someone was trying to get on.
Someone's been pestering her.
But no, it's a really interesting area, because if your motivations don't line up with taking an order, right? That part of the sale that everybody finds the most difficult, potentially, which is, you know, taking the actual order, asking people to part with their money, etc., to come in, then you're always going to struggle with it. But where that comes from can be so many different things.
Mm.
So it could be a form of imposter syndrome. It could be that somebody just doesn't feel that they're worth whatever it is that they're asking for, and that's why they'll always go low ticket as opposed to high ticket. I've noticed that a lot of it can be wrapped up in various neurodivergence as well. A lot of people with ADHD, for example, get very cynical about the whole sales process, right? And therefore struggle to kind of ask for money because they're worried about, well, will they actually be able to give the value back, and what work's going to be involved, and same with people with autism. It's like, oh, can I line up all of those parts? Will it actually be what I'm going to be doing, feeding into what Diane was just talking about as well. So it's quite asking for an order. It's quite a complex process for a lot of people. It's not something I've ever struggled with personally, but you can understand other people coming into it, and some people will just never be able to do it. It's one of the reasons for some of my clients, I go into sales meetings with them because they can't even see the signs there. Right? Do you find that as well, that some people just are completely blind to sales signs?
Yes, 100%. 100%. I think as well, this is why we have to be really careful on the messaging of things, like book a free call. It's not a free call. It's a call to find out whether you're the right fit, whether this is the right fit for you. I have calls with people that are like, oh, I thought this was free, and you're telling me that I now need to hand over 5K. And I'm like, no, this isn't free. I'm trying to find out whether you are the right fit. The call is free, but at the end, I'm going to give you a price. And if you want to join, you can join. If you don't, that's absolutely fine. It's not an issue. But this is not, you're not going to get free advice from us. We are here to work out whether over the next 6 months you want to work with us and you want to be coached and trained to actually make X amount or learn X, Y, and Z on the mentorship program. So there's so many high ticket programs out there right now, and you just have to work out what it is that you want and work with a coach that you really connect with as well, because there's so many people out there teaching sales, but you've got to find someone who you connect with, which is why I predominantly only sell to women, just because I have sold to men for years and years. In fact, most of my life I've sold to men, and I just got fed up of it. It was just more, I find like I
got fed up of the process or men?
Fed up of men. No. Fed up of I think it was especially when you're selling high ticket, they have a bit of a bravado around themselves, and they think that they just throw sort of different things rather than women. It's very emotional, and I really like to lead with emotion, and I think I just find it a lot easier to flow when I sell to women. And a lot of the time I think women are more likely to just invest straight away rather than thinking like a man. That men are thinking, oh, I need to make an informed decision. Yeah, it's crazy. The psychology of sales is mad, but I think.
So then, do you know when that then, Chloe? Do you say for women to sell to women themselves, or do you teach them to be able to sell to both sexes?
Yeah. I can teach them to sell to both sexes for sure. I've done it, so I know how to do it. It is different. It's a very different skill, and you do have to you have to word things differently. You can't come at it from a sort of like nurturing side. You have to be quite assertive with men.
Yeah.
You have to just say it as it is. Whereas with women, you can sort of coat things and make it sound a little bit more flat.
Because I find that being in like construction engineering and manufacturing, it's quite a man's world, but I'm quite pragmatic, like matter of fact, probably in a masculine energy more than a feminine energy at times. So I feel I can do that. But you're all right. Like, I also think when you're in networking groups, though, women can help women a bit more sometimes than what the guys will. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
In terms of what you do, you say that you've got quite a high ticket entry point as well anyway yourself. So if someone wants to come to you for coaching, it's going to cost them a fair bit of money. So what do you do if you see that there's somebody there that needs your help and support, but they can't afford you? What do you signpost them somewhere else? Do you give them some kind of guidance, or?
I mean, there's always ways. I think, like, you know, there's ways that you can break price down. You can spread it out over a few months. You could spread it out over 6 months. I always think, I don't chase, I attract. And it's something I teach with the women that I work with. Do not chase your leads. If they don't see the value in what you offer, don't chase them. Don't give them a discount. Don't try and lower your services to get them in. Just let them go. Because the let them theory by Mel Robbins is so true. Let them leave and a better one will come. I think as well, when it's high ticket, you'll find you'll get the best leads because they understand the value. They get it. They're willing to drop, you know, 3 to 5K on a mentorship. Whereas if it's low ticket, a lot of people expect more when it's low ticket. Whereas high ticket, they invest and they are ready to go and they know it's worth it. Don't chase, attract. I always think that if it's not for them, that's absolutely fine. Come back.
But there must be, but at the same time, you know, for every Waitrose, there's a Lidl, right? Yeah. So, you know, and
I love Lidl,
right? But it's an important part of all of this as well. I guess, you know, for some people that builds their resilience, right? Because they can't afford you. Mm-hmm. So if they can't afford you, then they've got to do it themselves, right? And then that sorts the wheat from the chaff there, I suppose.
Exactly. And also I always think if you want something, you will make it work. Like if there's something out there that you want, you know, if there's
sell the children, sell the house, go on the course.
Yeah. Well, probably best not to do that. But, you know, like if it gives you clarity on your life, or it gives you someone, you know, over the next 6 months, you're going to be working with someone that is going to give you results. You either stay in the same place for 6 months, or you invest in something that's going to skyrocket you further in life. Yeah. And we come up against it all the time. Oh, I can't afford it right now. And I always say, what do you value more, time or money? Because I always think money comes and goes. It's fluid. You know, money, you can make more money, you can lose money very, very quickly. Time, you can never, ever go back. You can't rewind time. So for me, I always think, what do you value more, time or money? Because
it's interesting. It is interesting because I think there's an element there that you're talking about, which is, I think people who are successful also understand risk.
Yeah.
And maybe for some people, the thing that they don't want to let go of is the things that they don't want to let go of that are the things that are holding them back. Right? Because if somebody's sitting on a really fancy car, but they haven't got a business, and, you know, that car's just going to get old and start dying or whatever, right? And then they can't afford to buy the next one, right? They could just sell that car and they could invest that money, but that would then require them to let go of something that that they're proud to possess right now in order to see the future.
Yeah. Right. Do you know what? It's really strange. So I've got such an amazing example. I've had a few calls this week. One was a lady who was in absolute dire needs in her business, like in a really bad place, in a lot of financial struggle. She's a mother. She's just really single mother, really struggling. She's just put down 3.5K on a program to get her to where she needs to be. She's just paid extra as well to have like the one-to-one mentoring. And yeah, she'll get where she needs to be in the next 6 months. Absolutely no doubt. However, we had another call with another lady who is living in scarcity mindset. What if it doesn't work? Is there a guarantee? And I'm like, why would you need a guarantee if you know the results are there? Also, we can't give you a guarantee because we don't know if you're going to if you're going to disappear after 2 months. So there is no guarantee in this. However, if you put in the hard work, we guarantee you will see results. We've been back and forth with her for about 3 days now. And in the end, because she's just been so questionable about the mentorship, we've had to just say, you're not allowed in. You're not coming in the mentorship. I'm really sorry. You've lost your space, because she's just, that sort of mindset won't do well in a mentorship. You have to back yourself. You have to believe in yourself.
That's what I'm saying, really.
Yeah.
You need that mindset anyway.
Like, and now she's terrified. She's going, no, I want to come back in. And we're like, come back to us in a month when you've reframed your brain.
You know what I mean? So
she's going to be a pain in the bum later in the program. So it's just not worth it. It's not worth our time to take on someone that is in that scarcity mindset. It's just not worth it.
Yeah.
Well, if you're doing group sessions though, Chloe, that's going to impact other people who might be feeling a bit of that but don't want to think in. If she's always going to be the voice of negativity or whatever, then it's going to breed that. So you've also got to think about the impact of that within the, you know, the community that you're trying to build. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You know, you want people who are going to champion each other on and, you know, challenge themselves, put them outside the comfort zone and say, right, you know what? I hate physio and myself, but I've done it and I've put it on social media and I've done this and blah, 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 whatever it may be, you know, and it's just willing to be coached. Because I think from me, like when I had so many staff to look after, those people that didn't want to listen and learn, that were not coachable, are always the ones that will never fully succeed. You know, you've got to understand yourself as well. You know, you've got to know your own strengths and your own weaknesses. And if you can't self-evaluate, then when someone tries to tell you what's not so great, then it stings because you're like, oh, what? But if people are telling you some of them things, well, let's be honest, everyone's had a boss, everyone's had a performance review, everyone's had an appraisal, everyone's had feedback. If you're getting common, you know, even going back to you, Graham, back in the class, you know, when we were kids, your report probably told you similar things about yourself. You've got to be self-aware to know that, to be able to fix it when you're going on something like you're doing. Do you know, you've got to be able to want to change, haven't you?
Yeah.
And go, do you know what? We're not perfect because nobody is, but I want to try and be the best version of myself. And doing that is by getting someone to push you that little bit further and coach you into being able to do that better, you know. So it's great that you've got what you've got for people, and you'd only want people who want to do that. You know, someone who wants to hold themselves back won't succeed anyway, no matter how much they spend. You know?
Ultimately, we all get to points in our life where we have to, you know, jump off that bridge, and we all have to take risks. And if we when those opportunities come up, which push us in an uncomfortable direction, we can either go, yeah, I'm going to do it, or not do it. And if we choose not to do it, then every time we choose not to do it, we just stifle ourselves, really. And you know, for me, the big changing factor was one of the reasons why music is so important to me is because I joined a band when I was 14, and that changed my life. Right? Didn't necessarily make me confident at school right then, but it made me confident in front of people. Right? So I used to play gigs and whatever from 14, and that made me, in that space, I was completely confident.
Yeah.
And then later I was able to hold on to what that felt like. And I took that with me when I started doing radio. And then that built up, and then that built up. And, you know, I ended up doing this. So, you know, but it's terrifying. Every single time we hit one of those things where it's like, well, are you going to do this or not? For everybody, it's terrifying.
Yeah.
You know? And you've just got to let yourself go with it. And actually, I don't know about you, Chloe, but I'd far rather work with someone that was kind of over pulling than never willing to step up at all.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I think it's always good to value your services. Never ever drop your price just because someone says, oh, I can't afford it. Just spread it out. Spread the price out for them. Just say, that's fine, we can spread it out for you. You don't have to pay it all up front. But then also, this is one of the things I would say, if they do pay up front, they get a lot more. They maybe get extra one-to-ones, or they get a lot more. If they spread it out, they maybe get a little bit less, but they still get the service, because you can't discriminate people for not having, 3 or 5K stashed in their bank. That's a lot of money. So just spread it out. They still get the service. They still get everything that they want. They're still going to have the scalability in 6 months' time. They're not going to be where they are, but you're helping other people in that area. And even that, for that lady, we did offer that to her, and she was like, no, I'm scared. I was like, oh my God, that's enough.
Can I just kind of, we're getting towards the end, but can I just talk a little bit about sort of costs in all of that as well? Because one of the other things that I find that a lot of people in their business are just unrealistic about is the cost of everything, right? Yeah. So they might see like what they're charging people, and they might think, oh, that's too much money. How can I possibly charge for that? But do you find that a lot of those people that struggle with that also really just struggle to understand what things actually cost them as well?
Yeah, it takes time. I think it takes time to understand what it is that you're worth. Definitely, it's your time. And this is the thing when I say talk. I talk about time and money. What do you value more? Because again, money can come and go, but time, you can't get it back, and you're giving someone valuable time that you could be doing on something else. So that's worth its weight in gold. If you could get someone from where they are to where they need to be in 6 months, which would normally take them 3 years. That's time that they could, that extra 2.5 years, they'll be where they need to be.
Yeah.
So, Chloe, having a service level business can be hard as well, because people go, oh, can I just ask? Oh, can I just this? Oh, can you just, and they try and like steal your time. We used to call time stealers when we were doing
this is why I think this is why I do things like, networking, and I've joined lots of networking events, because that was something I was really struggling with, was time. I was like, I don't even have time to eat food, let alone like give my clients what they need. And
I sat on the commode now, folks.
I was like, and that's why I've got like a VA, and I've invested in a VA, because she deals with the stuff that my brain can't cope with when I'm working in the day. So that's really helped. And it's just about working out ways to solve it. And I don't have the answers, because I don't have time to solve them. So when I go to networking events, I ask people, I'm really struggling with time. Oh, speak to this person, she'll help you. And that's exactly what Move did for me. Literally found VAs, I've found like tech people, I've found people in different industries that can help me set up everything so that it's all automated. I don't even need to think about it.
Yeah.
That's a really great example of an industry where potentially people do need your advice as well, which is the VA community, because I see so many of those across social media where they're completely undercharging for their time. And actually, when you look at what they are then making for the kind of service that they're trying to put out, you go, well, do you know, you could actually just go and work in Tesco's over the road, or other supermarkets are available, and be earning more money. And they're like, really? And you go, yeah, because it's costing you that to do that, and you're only charging that.
Yeah,
that's not enough. But a lot of I suppose part of the big opportunity now is that so many people now work from home, and this has all come out of COVID and that whole period, etc. So are you finding that there's more of an opportunity than ever before? Because
so much. There's more women who are they have to stay at home to look after everyone had to stay at home. A lot in sort of like standard traditional families, a lot of the time after COVID, men went back to work, or women went part-time, and then they were sort of twiddling their thumbs, or not literally, because they've got kids and they've got busy lives, but they're thinking, how am I going to make money on top of everything else? So why not learn something like high ticket closing, or even setting, or Instagram, or building a personal brand? Why not do that? whilst being a mum, whilst doing everything. You don't need to leave the house. You know, if I ever do have children, which I hope I do, but, you know, I know that I will have a really sustainable business because I don't need to go to an office. I don't need to get childcare. I probably will have, you know, someone help me when I want to take sales calls, but it's not a stress. And I know that's something that really sits on women is I'm going to have to quit my job. And you don't have to do that when you work from home and you've got financial freedom through this.
And of course, just to add balance to that, some of you might be like me. You're the person at home and you've sent the wife out. So we swap. Yeah. Before COVID, I was the one that was always out. I was driving around the country all of the time. Now she's the one that's out driving around the country all of the time. I'm here. I do the school runs, I do the baking, I look after the kids, I do the ironing, and I run.
I love that. I love that. You go your wife. That's so cool.
No, go me, not my wife.
I love that.
She's the one out there enjoying work. I'm the one.
And do you know what? I love that. I love that you're enjoying being at home. It's just and it proves that we don't have to fit into the like norms of society. Women can go out and work and we can earn a ton of money if we want. You don't have to sacrifice everything. I love that you've done that, Graham. That's so refreshing to hear. Good for you.
There you go. Well, and I'm not the only one. I'm just pointing out. I am definitely not the only one. And, you know, I think there is a big change happening there. You know, although there's not many of us that arrive at the school gates in the morning, but maybe with time it will change. Chloe, it's been wonderful getting to know you a little bit. If people want to connect with you, where's the best place?
We haven't talked about the gig.
Oh yes, we were going to talk a little bit about. Yes, let's do that. Let's do that. So
I was like, oh, what's the main thing, is it?
So talk about your gig.
Yeah, so as part of my thing, you know, where I'm obsessed with making money, which everyone says I am, but I'm quite driven by money. I love music. I love singing. I'm a trained jazz singer. I've been singing jazz for years and I play piano and I just absolutely love music. I've written hundreds and hundreds of songs and I've got music on Spotify as well. However, I've been wanting to put on a gig for so long, like a jazz gig, anything like that, just to get me back away from my desk and into my hobby. And I spoke about it on Move. I spoke about it to a few networking events and I was like, does anyone know a venue? Anyway, through networking, I've met Ellie and we've booked a venue. It's called Fredericks in Liverpool. It's going to be so beautiful. It's just a really stripped back jazz event in the back of Fredericks with a saxophone player and a pianist and a guitar. And at first I was thinking, what am I going to rate? Where does the money go? Because it's not that I don't need it, but it's more I just feel like it's very hard for people to buy tickets for someone they may not know, or that they're just, I'm not famous or anything. So they're thinking, why would I pay that? So I thought, I want to raise it for charity. I want to do it for charity. And I've decided to donate all of the profits towards two charities. One is All for Inclusion, which is part of one of our networking events at Move. And then the other one is the Jade L. Roberts Project, which is a charity for women feeling suicidal in Liverpool. So yeah, and it's on the 17th of April. It's 7:00. The tickets are on my Instagram. And yeah, it's going to be quite an emotional, moving event, I think, full of really gorgeous, gorgeous people. So I'm excited.
Cool. Do you know what? We'll get you on My Music as well.
Yeah.
To talk about it.
That'd be cool.
Right? And you can talk a little bit more about your music on there as well.
That'd be awesome.
That would be really good.
Yeah, that'd be lovely.
Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you.
If people want to contact you about the business,
yeah,
where's the best place to go?
My Instagram, which is just Chloe Creative. Yeah, all over Instagram. Yeah.
That little bit there. There you go. That's the one to find. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you guys.
It's been great.
That was
thank you, Diane. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you for watching. You've been great as usual. Hope you've enjoyed that conversation. I hope it struck a nerve with you. If you're finding it difficult to sell, what is it that's holding you back? Perhaps drop us a line. Give us a few comments on that. We'd be pleased to put you in the right direction of somebody, maybe Chloe, who could help and get you going in the right direction going forward. We'll be back soon with more of this, but until then, bye for now.